And they was real friendly, and I'll tell you something. The most of them Japanese could speak English and talk English. They could speak English good. But I remember they say, "Thank God the war's over. No bombings tonight." Because our planes from the Philippines was just every night bombarding them, every night. They had that airfield out there that was blown up, full of holes and everything. And the Japanese was glad. They said, "No bombing tonight, no bombing tonight." Well, they'd seen so much and had so much of it, they was tired of it. Well, we were glad it was over with too. But a few days later, here come the English. Battleships, destroyers. And right before the war ended, we was all getting ready. And we was getting our project. There was some prisoner of war prisons somewheres up the coast. And our project was to hit them prisoner of war prisons. But the English come around, and they was going to head for Japan. They was upset because the English liked to fight. They loved that fighting. Here they made all that trip around, heading for Japan, and the war was over. But I went aboard several English ships. They invited us, and them planes from the Philippines, them guys couldn't understand what is the Navy doing in China. And they still couldn't understand what the Navy was doing in the Gobi Desert. We had Navy personnel in the Gobi Desert. They didn't have the Army, they had the Navy. Well, I've got several thoughts and reasons why they picked the Navy. But I'm not going to, there's some things I can't tell, and I won't tell. But this deal was so secretive that it was between Roosevelt and, like I say, Hill6.mov. Well, we were really under a foreign command. We had Admiral Miles, who was a good friend of this Hill6.mov, and Ty Lee. He was a real good friend of theirs. But since we was under a Chinese or a government, different government, during that time, we never received any medals whatsoever. The only medals we received was, well, what we got here, some of them. That one medal was considered, this is supposed to be similar to the American, what do they call it, Lola? Our American, the high honors in America.
Congressional Medal of Honor?
Yeah, the National Medal or Congressional Medal of Honor. And that was considered from the Chinese, from their part, But as far as the medals, you can't eat medals anyway, so it didn't bother me any. And I can't really think of a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I can't reveal, I won't. We were sworn to secrecy till several years after the war. We could tell our families and relations where we was at, what was doing, but there was other things we couldn't tell. And to this day, I wouldn't tell some of them, and I told my wife some of them, and she really understands why, Mainly, I don't want to offend the Chinese. I'm not going to offend them in any way. They saved my life several times, and I love them and respect them. And we've been back to, well, we've been to Taiwan 5 or 6 times as guests, and they treat you, I mean, loyally. You're the king over there. But we did go to Hong Kong. Of course, after the war ended, this buddy of mine and I, when we got everything taken care of at Amoy Island, we had to fly to Shanghai. And Shanghai wasn't touched very much. Mostly it was Russian Jews that controlled Shanghai. Well, the Chinese did too, but they didn't fool with China. Or with Japanese, didn't fool too much with them. Because it was a beautiful city. Shanghai was a beautiful city. Anyways, we was up there. I had enough points to come home. I was homesick. We had to build a radio station in one of the big buildings there in Shanghai. I had to wait till the fleet came in to get a replacement for me. And of course, it was a nice place, and everything was so good and everything, but I had an awful good friend of mine who committed suicide in Shanghai. He was just about getting ready to go home, and he left a letter to our commander, and we were going out for dinner that night. We'd made arrangements to go out for dinner, and he shot himself. Why? I'll never know. The only one that knows was the chaplain. The chaplain that was with us. He got the letter, and he read the letter himself. He never told a soul. And he came back and met with this kid's parents and all that. But I'll never know what happened. Unless, you know, it's kind of hard to describe. And I hope people will realize these boys coming back from Iraq, they've got to have help because of that reason. You know, you get, just like myself, I was beginning to get Asiatic. And this buddy, one buddy of mine, he was getting so Asiatic he wouldn't even talk to you in English. He was all Chinese, you know. And you start getting that way. And I can understand. These boys from Iraq, I hope they take care of them.
What was it like for you to come home and have to adjust again?
It wasn't easy. My dad was smart enough to know that I had to readjust. I did a lot of drinking. The more I get thinking about things, the only thing that solved my problem is Scotch, beer, or whatever, and I did a lot of drinking. Well, when I met my wife, I'd been doing a lot of drinking, but thanks to her, she turned me around, and I straightened out. I didn't drink near much, because she wouldn't stand for it. So I got to give her credit for helping me. And my sister, my younger sister, she helped a lot. She'd get real mad at me because I might come home plastered, you know, and